Okay, so I've had a number of you request after that last video I shot about getting started with your real estate license here in Manitoba, how to actually build your real estate business here in Manitoba, or I guess in Canada in general. A lot of the things I'll be talking about today are really nationwide, so stay tuned and I will get into how to build your real estate business in those initial few months of becoming a realtor. I'm Jennifer Queen with the Jennifer Queen team and RE/MAX Professionals here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and I was in your shoes many moons ago. Now it would be actually 10 years ago, so the market has actually changed a lot in that time. But there are still many theories that would remain the same today and that I utilized in getting my business up and off the ground and running. So, and keep in mind too that I was starting out in a city that I was not born and raised in. So I didn't know that many people here. My sphere of influence was actually quite small to begin with. So keep in mind that if I can do it, you likely can too. I have also found that a lot of the courses that teach you how to get your real estate license, they are so focused on you not losing your license that they fail to really delve into topics like how to build a business, more just how to not lose your business once you have that license. So I find that the steps I'm going to talk about today are incredibly paramount to your continued success. The first and easiest thing that you can do now, and truthfully, I wish I would have set up so much earlier in my real estate career, are really those social media accounts. So when you're setting those up though, let's have a talk about that. Do not be a schmoozy realtor on them. What I want you to do is picture in your mind what your perfect client looks like. And what we actually call that is a client avatar. So then what you do, so say you decide you want to work with investors. Picture that investor. Picture yourself as that investor. If you were scrolling through, say, Instagram, what are the topics you want to hear about? Do you want to hear about perhaps cap rates and what a good investment is? How to spot a good investment perhaps would be a good topic, something that would interest those investors. Perhaps some good values. Perhaps you spotted an amazing deal on the market. Target that market. Maybe you don't want to deal with investors. Maybe you want to think about working with, say, young families. That is a different kind of targeting that you would be doing. Your client avatar then is oftentimes people in perhaps their early 30s, looking perhaps to sell their first home, buy their second home. What you're going to want to talk about are really the steps perhaps of how to buy and sell at the same time. That's a huge hurdle a lot of people can't get over, or even not necessarily just real estate related topics either. Perhaps areas with the best parks in the city, things that families are going to identify with. This is not you spamming the heck out of people. This is you establishing yourself as a market authority in the neighborhoods they are interested in. Now keep in mind too, there is an 80-20 rule in my opinion. And in all honesty, when we get really busy, this is the first thing that falls to the wayside. But the 80-20 rule, in theory, and if I did it perfectly, 80% of the content on my social media would be content that is adding value to others. So it would be kind of like those topics before, best neighborhoods, tips, tricks, things that people find interesting, things that would stop the scroll and have somebody review what you've written. Eye-catching pieces, good content. The other 20%, yes, you can use that to spam people and remind people that you are in the business. Advertise your listings, or perhaps a post about that you're taking on clients, or you have clients looking for a certain kind of property, and does anybody know of anyone? But try and limit it to 20%. If you're doing more than that, you are just selling the heck out of yourself, and you're gonna drive everybody on your feed nuts, to put it nicely. There are many realtors that I have unfollowed, unfortunately, just because they weren't following really that 80-20 rule, and I just, I didn't see the value in their feed. Sorry guys. Now, back to that client avatar. It is important to know who your person is. Like, I'm not kidding. Visualize this person. This is Tammy and Jeff, and they like to live in, or they live in a 3-bedroom bungalow in such area. Their family is growing and they need more room for the kids to play in the backyard. Think of the problems that these people might be facing. Target your marketing that way. Speak to your market. If you try to appeal to the masses, you'll appeal to nobody. But if you focus down and you niche on a specific segment, what you're going to find is that you start seeing growth within that segment, because the algorithms all start to pick up on the fact that, hey, this family with mom and dad in their early 30s really like this content, so we think that other people will like this content too. And you will start to see some natural organic growth if you do it right. But yes, know your audience, know where they are, and know the challenges they face so that you can speak directly to them. And I will add again that it is incredibly hard. One of the best tips I can give you is to batch your content. If you're watching this video, you probably noticed that this shirt is the same as perhaps some other videos on my channel. This is my 4th video I've recorded for the day today. And sometimes that's just necessary. You gotta batch your content to make sure that in busier times you are staying consistent, and there's nothing wrong with that. I do recommend a few more outfit changes than what I've had today, but just keep in mind that batching content is an option and something to do perhaps on one of those slower days. There's no harm in doing so. Okay, so the next suggestion I have is to build your sphere of influence. And this is kind of like one of those ones that seems obvious, and when I'm mentoring new agents in my office, I almost get an eye roll from everybody because it seems so obvious. Why am I telling them this? But it really is paramount to your success. So when I mean your sphere of influence, these are people that you know, like, trust, that you have somewhat of a relationship. Now keep in mind, like I said, when I moved here, I was not born and raised here, so my sphere of influence was definitely smaller than some getting started in the real estate business. But it didn't mean I didn't have people I couldn't reach out to. So for instance, like reaching out to my hairdresser or the people on my soccer team, or, you know, a lot of people. And what you're going to do, and I don't just mean reaching out once kind of thing, or doing this without structure and care. This is actually a system that you're going to implement within your business. And I know it never sounds fun to systematize your relationships, but don't think of it that way. Think of it as just doing better at keeping in touch with people. So you're going to want to develop a database. I started with an Excel spreadsheet, but in all honesty, I would do it differently if I did it now. I would use a CRM, so a customer relationship management system or software. There are many that are, if you're through one of the larger brokerages, most of them now have like CRMs as part of their platforms for their agents. So you might be given one free if you're with one of the big brokerages. If you don't, like, it can often be like $20, $25 per month to get a CRM system, and it's honestly the best $25 you're gonna spend every month. Trust me on that. And what you're going to start doing with that system is you're going to start inputting the people you know and all the information you have about them. So their birthdays, maybe their anniversaries, husbands' names, wives' names, pets' names, kids' names, what do they like, those sorts of things. And what you're going to start to do with that system is you're going to start adding tasks that remind you to reach out to these people regularly. And I don't mean reach out and be a sleazy salesman. Do not do that. You're going to be creating touch points that just remind them that you're in the business without forcing yourself upon them and having that commission breath, as some people say. So an example would be, hey, I was just at a showing and this made me think of you. Text them a picture. Something as simple as that. And if you know who your people are to reach out to that day, then you can at least keep an eye out for things that make you think of them. You're reminding them that you're a realtor and you're busy because you're clearly in showings and working and getting experience. And see that you're a thoughtful person and you care about them. That is all part of the relationship building process. Now, the reason that I say that your sphere of influence is so important is that a properly worked sphere, according to Gary Keller, is going to provide a return of about 20 deals per year for every 100 people in your database. So if you're doing it properly and you're reaching out to people, creating these touch points, reminding them that you're in the business, but not asking in a sleazy way for referrals, you're going to start seeing those returns. Keep in mind that it might be slower at the beginning. Like, people want to make sure that you know what you're doing before they start referring you to their friends, and that's okay. But establishing that trust, that regular communication, that development of you on the job doing things and them seeing that, both through your social media as well as these touch points, that can really speed up that process and their willingness to start referring people to you or using you themselves. And again, don't use the excuse that you don't know that many people in the area. I knew a realtor that didn't know anybody, moved to a new town, and would go to Home Depot and chat people up in the renovations. Well, in any department, really. I guess the whole place is for renovations. But he would just chat with people. He found a very high correlation between people doing projects within their home as well to those selling. So he actually started to get a ton of business just from doing that, but doing it in a not sleazy, kind of chatty way and just being friendly. Hey, it's not a strategy that I used, but there really is no excuse of saying you don't really know anybody, because there is always a way to A, know people, or B, get to know people, right? So just start working on that sphere, start building it, start keeping in regular communication with people, and set those task reminders so that you do it consistently. And I just want to stress consistently. Everything that has worked in my business has been because I did it consistently. So you can decide to drop doing anything within your business after you've done it for 6 months consistently. You have to do things though for a minimum of 6 months to really see if they're working or not, in my opinion. There's obviously some exceptions, like if you're paying like a lead provider and it's these huge monthly costs and you're not getting any leads, like maybe cut that right away, but we'll get into that later. The next recommendation I would have for you to start building your database is really through fellow agents. So when I started in the business, I had an amazing, amazing mentor at my office. However, he didn't have an office within the office, or I guess he did, but he was just never there. He would come for our meetings, he would teach me so many things, he would take me out in the field, and it was great. But I set up my office physically in my office, and as a result, I started interacting with the other agents there as I got to know them. And just being around them and hearing those conversations and getting exposed to real estate and how other people handled it was so paramount. I started interacting with a lot of other agents and inviting some out for lunch just so I could pick their brains. I would find somebody that I found really successful and wanted to know how they had become so successful and take them out to lunch. And honestly, nobody ever turned me down, not one person. Everybody was willing to take me out and tell me how they built their business. I think in essence, people do like to tell you how they became successful, and I think that's great. Or perhaps it's just that the people at the top believe that rising tides lift all ships, right? And I found that was kind of the mentality, and I really appreciated that because the amount of information they were willing to share was amazing. But that wasn't it. What I didn't expect, or an unintended consequence as a result of these meetings, was that people started getting to know me too and feeling comfortable with me. So we're talking about some more senior agents who perhaps had a lot of listings and a lot of sign calls or leads coming in off their listings, but maybe they didn't want to deal with those leads. They started sending them my way. My first deal ever in the business was actually because another agent within my office wanted to go participate in a golf tournament that was going on that day. And he asked if I could show his client a home and write an offer, and that's exactly what happened. So he was out golfing and I was showing this client the house and writing the offer, and I got paid a referral fee for that. It was a win-win for him. He didn't have to miss his golf event, and it was a win-win for me in that A, it started income coming in, and B, it started getting me that A, confidence in writing an offer, and also just that experience that was so important. And of course, income too at that time, right? But yeah, and it cost me nothing but building that relationship and maybe one lunch or something. Now, I did a good job with that client. I followed up with them. Of course, I talked to the agent first before doing any of these follow-ups. You never want to overstep and cross that boundary where you're trying to put this person into a position where they're your own client now. So obviously defer to the agent that has referred you the business, but I did a good job. He was so pleased. He continued to refer me business for many, many years after that. And he wasn't the only agent that treated me that way. There were a few agents that I established this rapport and trust with, and they started sending me their clients. Now, mostly buyer clients, but at the beginning, like, that's what you're going to be working when you're getting into the business. Now, I just want to caution you too that I do think the belly-to-belly interaction is actually quite important with other agents. I have found that some agents, newer agents joining our office, what they'll do is they'll put letters in our mail slots just saying, hey, do you need help with open houses or with your own clients? Or leads coming in that you just can't handle, which is great. It's better than doing nothing. But at the end of the day, this is a business and we are representing ourselves out there, and we want to know that the people we are allowing to work with our clients are an extension of us, and that they're going to treat our clients the way we would want them to be treated. So I do think that there is some level of getting to know the person that you just kind of miss on a flyer in your mail slot. So new agents, please just reach out and actually establish that face-to-face, belly-to-belly kind of time with your agent, because I think that makes all the difference. Have those conversations. It will pay off. The next thing is open houses. So this is really like the low-hanging fruit where clients will come to you on weekends. So I think this is one of the best opportunities. And if you are developing those relationships with agents in your office, they are going to be willing to start giving you open houses. Heck, they'll give them to you quite freely. They would probably rather be with their families on the weekends and letting you work on building your business at that time, because they've kind of paid their price and done those open houses for many years already. So start asking around, ask agents if they have any open houses you can do. The majority are going to A, appreciate the initiative, and B, say, yeah, why not? Like, honestly, there's no harm in more exposure for my listing. Now, just something I want you to keep in mind though when you are doing these open houses is buyers coming to these open houses, or perhaps even just nosy neighbors, are likely touring a few properties at a time. They aren't just coming to yours. So in situations like that, you really need to make yourself stand out. And I don't mean being aggressive with them at the door when they're coming in. I'm meaning being a neighborhood expert for them when they're touring. The first thing you're gonna wanna do though is you're going to want to become an expert on the house you're doing an open house on. Study that spec sheet. What year was the house built? What is the square footage? What are the more recent upgrades? For instance, we always get asked, when were the shingles last replaced? Those sorts of things. Know those kinds of details. Get those details in advance. Being able to have that information ready to spit off when a buyer asks you, A, makes you look like an expert, and B, makes them more confident in your knowledge of the product you're selling. But don't just be the house expert, be the neighborhood expert, like I said. Know the houses for sale in the area. Know the competing products. Maybe have that, structure your day out so that perhaps you say to a buyer coming into your open house, hey, there's actually a house similar to this one just down the street. I booked an appointment after this open house to go check it out. Do you want to come join me? Show them that you can show them other houses. Show them that you're aware of the neighborhood. Show them that you're not just there to pressure them to buy this house. There are ways to bring value to those buyers. Also, part of that neighborhood expert is knowing the comps. A lot of people can see what things are listed for. They cannot see what things are selling for unless their realtor has told them about that. Be prepared to show them comps and tell them a price range that you anticipate this house selling within. Being the expert at that open house will increase their confidence in you. Another idea might be just having pamphlets with you at this open house. Some shameless self-promotion in there, but not just a pure pamphlet of promoting yourself. Perhaps top 10 things you need to know before buying a home with your information on it that you can have to hand out. Encourage them to sign up for your newsletter with additional information. There are ways to promote yourself without coming off as super sleazy. You're at this open house, you are trying to build rapport so that they feel they can trust you and work with you on either this or other properties. So for the sake of time, because I've already gone over what I intended to, I'm going to stop here with ideas on how to build your business initially. But what I wanted to focus on today was really low cost systems that would start getting you leads. And honestly, all of these suggestions shouldn't really cost you anything, with the exception of perhaps a lunch for an agent or the cost of a monthly database. But where I start seeing people get into trouble when they're getting into the business is when they start paying for those leads that I referenced earlier. Like, there are companies out there that will gladly sell you leads, but they might not be the most quality leads. They're not necessarily scrubbed, and the ones that are, you're paying a ton of money for. That is the quickest way to go to business, is to start spending large amounts of cash early on. At the beginning of your business, you need to be conserving your cash flow as much as you can, because the costs do really start adding up and coming at you quickly. And it's going to be paramount to get those first few deals under your belt, and honestly building those relationships with agents in your office, as well as just your sphere of influence, are going to provide far better return than anything else you can, especially when your investment is next to nothing. There's a couple other things though I just want to remind everybody about before they get into real estate here too. And that is the importance of systems first. So what I mean there is having a system for everything you do. So if there's anything you're doing in your business more than once, you need to be able to have a system that can be replicated and quickly and explained easily. A system for everything. So for instance, say you've gotten a new buyer. An example of a system for them would be in your CRM. You set them up on a little, it can be called a drip campaign if you want. So perhaps you set them up on an auto email. 2 days from now, remind yourself to check in with them. Hey, how is that search going? Are you finding it of value? Is there anything I could tweak for you? Little points of touch so that you are constantly keeping in touch with these clients. Same goes for, say, if you have a seller selling, reach out a day or two into it. Hey, showings have started. How are you handling? Are you making it through all these showings? Is there anything I can help you with? Need a good doggy daycare? Those sorts of things, you know? Just be there for them. And a lot of the time this can all be done through CRM systems. I have a CRM set up for me. It pops up every morning. Depending on the task, some come to me at 6 a.m., some come to me at 8 a.m., some come to me at 11 a.m. And it just tells me, this is the client, this is what they're expecting today. Do this, do this, do this. Keep in touch kind of thing. I know that when I say systems, it kind of makes it seem like it's less personable and sincere. But in all honesty, these are people that I would be thinking about kind of at 10 p.m. at night as I'm about to fall asleep and saying, oh my gosh, I forgot to send this email. So it's just so that I can handle them during the workday. And it is things I would likely send anyways, but it's just those reminders. So just some other systems. So set up your buyer system, set up your seller system, set up your office policy system, set up your lead system. How do you manage the leads coming in so that you don't lose track of them? There are many systems that you will have within your business that you need to begin setting up. Your open house system would be another example. And there is no right or wrong way to set up your systems. I talk a lot about a digital CRM, but if you are a paper person and you are capable of keeping on top of things via paper, that's okay too. Just do it that way. But whatever you do, have a system. And the other thing I want to stress is the importance of tracking your numbers. You need to be tracking everything within your business because this is a business and we are looking at return on investment of anything you're doing. You need to be able to look at the numbers, see, hey, I am spending this much on taking agents out to lunch every month, but B, nobody has sent me any referrals. Maybe that's something you drop, or maybe you're taking out the wrong people. Numbers don't lie. That is the importance of tracking your numbers. So using those numbers to take a cold, hard look at your business is important. And at the beginning, you're gonna wanna do that at least monthly. I do it quarterly. I wish I did it monthly still. I think I would be able to adapt a little bit more quickly on things, but yeah, currently I do mine quarterly. You also need to track your expenses because money will go out the door so fast when you're a realtor. There are 1,000,001 people out there ready to sell you something, but you really need to have budgets and track your expenses wisely. You also need to track your deal rates. So for every, say, listing you have or client you have, there should really be a spin-off of 2 to 3 other clients from that if you're doing a good job. And if you're not, that might be evidence that perhaps there's some lack in your customer support that could be improved upon. And again, those numbers really never lie. So take a cold, hard look at those. Make sure you're using the correct numbers, tracking the right metrics, of course, things that are indicative of business growth and business maintenance. But yeah, those would be my tips for now, at least. I can expand upon this and get more into marketing if you guys want. But for now, this was just to kind of get your business off the ground in those initial months when there's perhaps some tightness with cash, and so that you can really get going. I'm Jennifer Queen with the Jennifer Queen team here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And if you found value in this video today, guys, please be sure to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button so that you see our future videos. And if you want more content like this, feel free to leave it in the comments section below. I do always read all those comments. It helps me in determining just what is speaking to you guys and what isn't. So take care, guys.